Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Worthy, Worth It, and Priceless. And this podcast is titled At the Expense of Yourself. Now, it is a much longer podcast, but there's only so much I can put on there. But what I am speaking about today is a little bit about my personal journey and where I have been. I have been making actual videos like on TikTok and all those things. But as far as podcasting and things like that, I have taken a break from a lot of things. And this year is actually 10 years that I've been doing videos. And this one is a little bit of just like a retrospective, but you'll get to it. We'll just get to it anyway. Over this last few months that I've been away from making videos and definitely away from making podcasts, um, I was thinking about everything, and I'm like, man, I have been doing this for 10 years, just like I stated. But the thing about it was, I was exhausted, and I was doing this at the expense of myself. And it's like, no matter how I felt like I had to do a video or I had to do a podcast. And it was at times when I was in depression and everything. You have to think 10 years is a long way, a long time. But during that time, I had a daughter. I had a breakup. Um, Basically, I was just discovering or learning how to be a single mother. All these different things, and just going through the motions of all of that. And I was still making videos, doing content and everything, and I wasn't putting myself first. So that is basically where the last two videos or last two podcasts comes in. But I wasn't putting myself first. It was as if everything else mattered more than um, more than me. So much so that I had to take a break. The pressures of social media, and that was something that I never anticipated. When I was in one of my therapy sessions and I was just crying to her, and she's like, you're burnt out. It's like you're put too much pressure on yourself. And it was as if like I had a social media burnout. And I thought that could never happen to me. Like that wasn't a part of the plans. It wasn't something that I thought, like, once again, I didn't think it was something that could happen to me because um, I guess I was careful. Like, I just never thought of it because God will give me a word and I will give that word to you guys. But it became like the pressures of looking at the numbers and oh, I have to post more because as content creators, like, oh, you gotta post more, all of that. I never got into making videos for that. Somehow the joy of what I was doing or giving you guys encouragement, it became like a business. Oh, I gotta try to, like, it was just getting views and all of that. I've never been monetized or anything like that, so it wasn't about money. But it was like I wanted to do it full time, and so that when you decide that you want to do certain things full time, then all of a sudden, then you're like, oh, I gotta, you gotta be a part of the algorithm and all of that. And so much so, like I said, I was putting myself at the back burner or on the back burner. And it didn't matter how I felt. I had to do a video when that wasn't what was important. I lost sight of just doing what I love to do, which is giving you guys encouragement. And oftentimes, just to be transparent, it was self-esteem issues as well. Especially after the breakup, it was basically around the time that I started the podcast. For some reason, I felt like I wasn't good enough, and I was started to not really like my looks and everything. So I wanted to still make videos or still give you guys encouragement. I just wasn't confident enough to do it on camera. So I started making podcasts. And I actually loved it, you know. And so obviously I'm back at it, but doing podcasts didn't give me all the pressure that it was doing or showing up on camera. But either way, I said all of that just to give you guys a background of certain things. And hopefully it give you guys encouragement not to do the same thing that I've done, how I've done it. 10 years is a long time. But what I realized is that it goes fast, like in the blink of an eye. So make sure that you are enjoying your time while you have it, because you never know what is next. You never know what God has planned for you. You may have all these plans of what you think that your life is going to look like, and God is saying, no, I'm going to change that for you. But anyway, let me get back to the subject. Make sure that what you're doing is not at the expense of yourself. Just like I said in a previous podcast, make sure that you're putting yourself first. Because if you don't, your body and life will humble you. And I realized that firsthand. Even though I was giving myself, I was breaking on the inside. I was pouring from an empty vessel. And that is what I mean by at the expense of myself. That is finally get to the point, but either way, I was pouring from an empty vessel. I didn't have it to give anymore. And one day I was sitting in therapy, realizing that I didn't have any more to give. So I couldn't make videos, I couldn't make podcasts, I couldn't give anymore because there was no one pouring into me. And I can say I probably really wasn't reading the Bible as well as I should. And it was conflict after conflict. And I needed to go somewhere and rest. And so my encouragement to you once again is to make sure that you are doing what you love. Make sure that you're not exhausting yourself to the point of no return. That you're not emptying yourself out completely just to make something happen. Make sure that you are pouring back into yourself. Even if you aren't, make sure, or you don't have the capacity to, make sure that you have other people who are able to. But let's go back to the capacity part. Make sure that you have the capacity to do certain things. And what I mean by that is oftentimes when we are the strong friend, when we are the person that everybody goes to for advice, make sure that you have the capacity to deal with it. And if you do not, make sure that you inform that person, I don't have it today. I don't have the capacity for this. And for me, I hate conflict. I hate it. So a lot of times I would let people have conversations with me even though I didn't have the capacity. And then I am drained. And I can't blame them for it. I could have just said, hey, I don't have it today. And don't feel guilty about it. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And don't force yourself to do something that you don't have the capacity to deal with. I don't have it today. Because who pays that price? You do. It is at your expense that you are giving this person advice that you don't have. It's at your expense. And then once that happens, then you're like, oh God. Or like when that happens, then just say you've exhausted all your possibilities. And just say you have a family that you have to go home to. And then your kids is like, mommy, or daddy, hey, I did this, and they really need your attention. And now you can't give it to your family because you've exhausted it on everyone else. So make sure that you are taking out time for yourself. And if you don't have the capacity to deal with something, say it. Speak your mind. Hey, I can't do it today. And once again, don't feel guilty. Make sure or remember that you do matter. Your thoughts and your consequences, your thoughts have, or your actions have consequences. But just make sure that it's not at your expense. It's not at the expense of your health. It's not at the expense of what you can handle, or more than what you can handle. I'm rambling on now, so I'm gonna go. But I pray that you guys have a wonderful day. Know that you are loved. You are enough. You are worth everything in this world.